All right, so here I am in my garage doing what I do best. And I started off as a brake job. Okay, but these bolts back here were seized up, so I've had to tear everything out. Now the ball joint's seized up, so I gotta tear that. And so basically I'm doing new spindle, new bearing, rotor, bracket, calipers. The whole shock is out. You can see all the parts over here. I got shocks, calipers, and here's my parts box. Look at all this shit. And then, yeah, I mean, ball joints, tie rod ends, brake hoses, calipers, pads, ball joints, more pads, rotors. Up here I got bearings. This has just turned into a total shit show. So I had to get clamps and take these all apart and put longer bolts in. But I've got all of the lifts in, so the car is going to sit that much higher. So I got about a 2-inch lift. There's the spring compressors I had to use to compress all the springs to get those on. Your bearings, brakes, sway bar links, tie rod ends. These are the knuckles, calipers. These caliper bolts are really what, the bolts that go in here are what caused all this. So look, I'm trying to recover. Alexa, stop. I'm trying to recover this piece of shit dust shield, which honestly, they're about 100, I have to get them from the factory. It's like $120 for the pair. So that'll be the only, if I can get these bolts off, which I don't think I'm gonna be able to. These 4, I got one out. If I can get them out, then I can recover this. But I'm thinking I might just order new, because everything else is new. I don't wanna have this hideous thing. You know what I mean? So, wanna see real good and hot. See all that? I got about a 3-foot bar. There we go. Okay, got one off. So try doing that with this inside the wheel well. It just doesn't happen. With a 3-foot bar, no less. You know, when you're in the wheel well, all you got to work with. That socket's hot, by the way. Woo! Yeah, hold on. When you're in the wheel well, all I got to work with is about 4 inches of space around the edges of it. So, not to mention you can't even get a socket on there because you got to hammer them on. So imagine doing this with this all down inside the back of the wheel well. Doesn't happen. This is why I've had to go through all this. Every single one of these bolts. This should be loose by now. By now, I'm about 4 or 5 turns out. I should be able to finger tighten this thing. It's so seized in there. Basically bonded to the entire thing. Just crazy. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna recover this dust shield, and I'm gonna decide to order it anyway. But it's been fun. Here's the other side. So difference is, okay, when you're doing brakes, usually all you gotta do is take this guy off. Take this caliper off, 2 bolts like this one, and then this comes off, and the brake pads come out. And then to take the rotor off, you take off this bracket right here. It's separate from the caliper, see that? And this bracket has 2 bolts. One there and then one down below. So I could get the caliper off, couldn't get these off. So that means, basically, you can't get the rotor off. Well, my rotors, you know, these brakes are junk. So then on the other side, this side, the first one, this is the second one. So then I thought, okay, I'll take these bolts off, and I'll drop this down, turn it. So I beat the hell out of these for 2 days, getting those out. I mean, everything's seized, right? So every one of these bolts is just like what you're seeing. So I had torches on these, I had impact, I had 3-foot extensions. It's easier to get an extension on these. Now look, the bolts I'm working on right now, they're back here. You can imagine how easy it is to get a 3-foot extension with torch back here. Not happening. And basically, I took it apart one step at a time on this side. This side I said to hell with it. I dropped the entire control arm, which is 2 bolts, and then 3 bolts on top. Cut all the brake lines, cut everything else out. Just took the whole assembly out. So the second side was a lot easier because I learned my lesson. And now, since I've got all those out, cool thing is, I get to do a little lift job. So I'm lifting it 2 inches. So when it's all said and done, the Subaru will sit a couple inches higher. So, win-win for me. A little update on the brake job from hell. So, the brake hose sits in the wheel well. And the hard brake line attaches right there. This bolt would not come out, as you can see. Round it off, beat the piss out of it, trying to get it out of there. So I had to cut the brake hose, and I had to take out all of the brake line from the front driver's side down in here, and it comes all the way through over to here. And so now, let me get my light. I've got my, I haven't done this in a long time, but I got my flare tool, and I had to get a bunch of fittings because they're Japanese fittings. So here's the deal. This car has Japanese thread, which is this thread, but they don't, O'Reilly's doesn't sell long enough brake line, this metal tube, it doesn't sell it long enough for me to get it in one piece. But they also don't make the joint end connectors that connect 2 pieces of brake line together, like this piece. They only make it in natural pipe thread, or national pipe thread, not in the Japanese thread, like those. So I basically had to buy brake line, brake fittings, and then use my flare tool to flare the ends like that so that the brake lines would work. So now I've got my new brake line right here coming in and running over, running across there, going down there, and then right there is where it ended. So you can see there's my little joiner. But I had to get a wrench down in there and tighten that up, which was just a total nightmare. So hopefully my flare job and my tightening and all of my bullshit is good enough, because my life depends on it. Because if you lose pressure, then you got no brakes. So then my brake line comes down here, and now I gotta, this is where it attached, you can see. I basically gotta bend it up, make sure I don't screw up the flare. That's what I'm scared about, because if I screw this up now, really, I have to redo that fitting. But I'm gonna have to bend it all up in here, attach the new brake hose, flare it, and then the brake line's done. The other thing that I destroyed, that I replaced, is the ABS sensor. This guy. This wouldn't come out of the old one. So I had to wire in a new ABS sensor also. And that'll hook into my new bearing. You can see here, I've got my new, this is new. This piece is brand new. But it doesn't look like it because it's been getting dirty. But I've got a new sway bar and then a new control arm. And everything else will be new too. So doing it the right way, but it takes forever. First one right there. And then you can see burrs on there. So we're going to smooth that out quick with a file. We'll file that off, and then we will try to double crimp so that this can seat nicely into the new brake hose. Right here. Now, put that inside, and then when I press it, this thing will make the first side of the double flare. In there. So here, this has got a point on it. And that point will press down to that little divot there. This is the hard part because I got to be able to see. This is a bitch to get out sometimes, maybe not this time. Let's see how it looks. very little. So now you can tell what I was talking about. That is the old one. That is the new one. Fuck you, old one. Fuck you, old one. You fucking suck. Jesus. Okay. New brake line is complete. So now it's just gonna be a matter of going through and making sure there's no like vibration points. If there's like places where it would vibrate, you want to put a zip tie on it or do something to keep it held tight so it doesn't rub on anything and rub a hole. All right, good news. Good news, good news. Special order brake dust shields came in. That's what I've been waiting for. Then I got the new hub bearings, the bearing bolts, which were all seized up if you remember earlier. So I think I've got all the parts I need. A lot more fun putting stuff together than it is taking it apart, that's for damn sure. All right, I'm pumped. So on this side, you can see, you gotta remember I got a 2-inch lift in here. So this is all lower than it used to be. And I've been trying like hell to get the lower ball joint into here because I've got the knuckle all connected to the strut already. So I thought I'll connect the knuckle to the strut and then I'll press this down, but there's just no getting it down far enough to get it in there. So then I thought, okay, I'll throw a jack under this, put some wood blocks down so the jack doesn't roll, and maybe this will lift straight up, but it doesn't lift straight up, it kicks out. So I thought I'd need another set of hands, but I came up with this little method on this side. So instead, what I did on this side was I first attached the ball joint, left that in, pressed it way down, and then I put some ratchet straps because my spring compressor won't fit up in here. This doesn't look very safe, but keep in mind nothing's disconnected, so if this breaks, we'll be fine. But yeah, I put some ratchet straps on the spring, one on either side, so that because the spring compressors don't fit up inside of here, and that compressed the spring far enough that I was able to get the knuckle attached without a second set of hands. So there you go. I got it. Now I just got to get all the other stuff hooked up. But this is good progress. I was worried that I wouldn't make any progress today because I couldn't get those aligned. I thought I was going to have to get some help over here to help me finagle that into place, but that's not the case. Good deal. Getting down to it. Don't forget your crush washer. These brakes together. All right, check it out. That feels pretty damn good. I'm just missing all the bolts I ordered, everything. I'm short one bolt. So not too bad. And then I'm gonna take it in and get an alignment done. So I'm gonna leave the sway bar off and I'm gonna have them do new tie rod ends. I just decided I'm not gonna dick with it myself. I'll have them do that when they align it. Not a big deal. Feels pretty damn good after everything. So, inside down. So as you can see, it's all torn apart again. I figured out why this side was being such a bear for me. My CD shaft. Probably when I was beating the piss out of trying to get things apart, or maybe when I was trying to jack it up to get the spindle put back on. My CD boot and my shaft came apart inside the boot. And since this one is in such kind of rough shape anyway, I just want to pick up another one. So that should make things go a little bit better now. So I'm gonna throw a new CD shaft in and get this side put together. Then I gotta figure out how to jack up these back shocks without lifting the whole car up, because the lift kit obviously needs to be compressed. It needs to be compressed rather because of the lift kit. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm gonna get that done, bleed the brakes, and then maybe get her out for a test drive here soon. Okay, driver side's together. The only thing I'm concerned about is the brand new rotor and pads and caliper. They all went together a little tight. So I'm hoping that maybe that caliper will back off a little bit, because it's kind of hard to turn the wheels. The other side isn't so bad. I didn't compress the calipers before I put them on, because usually if you buy a new caliper, I guess it looks like it's compressed all the way, but it was definitely tight getting the caliper over the pads. So if it makes some noise, I won't be too surprised, but I think it'll probably back off after I drive for a little bit. But if not, I'll pop it off and see what the deal is. I don't know. It seems like, oh, and the other thing, I had this shield on backwards on this side, so I had to take the bearing back off. Stupid mistake. I thought it only went on one direction. I didn't check the holes, because the bearing holes they're not all like concentric, or I guess they're not all perfect square. So I assumed that the shield only went in one direction, but it must be a universal shield and work on both sides. So it's got extra holes. Anyway, the other thing, those bolts that I didn't order, I just modified. I modified the old hub bolts, or the studs actually. I just cut a thing out of them so I can screw it in there, and it does do just fine. But other than that, everything seems to be pretty good. I'm going to be checking to make sure this doesn't leak, and then also up in there where that joint is. So I'm going to start bleeding the brakes, start in the back passenger side, and move my way forward. Hopefully I don't have any issues with the bleeder screws back there. That's the next thing. Okay, trying to come up with a strategy to bleed my brakes by myself. This is what I've got. I'm gonna record it, and then I'm gonna watch the video and see what I find. Watching for bubbles. This is the back right. Oh, there's some bubbles. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, good deal. Good deal. Oh yeah, come on through. Alright, so let's get this guy out. As long as this is escalated, it shouldn't let any air back into the system. That's the idea. Got a little bottle and a little hose, and you want to trap all the air. Keep all the air out of the system. Get all the air out of the system. This is, so make sure you just do this before taking the hose off. Okay, good to go. Okay, the brakes are all blood. I am very happy that I could do that long. Now I gotta try and do this long. Problem is, I lift this up without lifting the car up. Because I don't want it to fall. So I'm gonna try and use my ratchet straps to compress the spring. Throw some new blocks under the jack. See if I can't lift that thing straight up without it moving around too much, and kind of hammer it into place. That's the idea. Okay. This could quite possibly be one of the most jerry-rigged things I've ever done. But look at it. Let's see if you can see it. Well, it's almost lined up. I can't see it with the phone. But, so look at this. Got these compressed. I'm almost there. Look at that. I'm gonna jack it one more time. The car lifts up. So what I've done, open the door up to give it a little bit of extra weight through the tires in the back. So now, let's see if I can do it. We'll see. It worked. The tires in the back and the ratchet straps. Can't believe it, honestly. Looks like I have a car. I'm done. Well, I haven't tested it yet, but it looks pretty good. I definitely gotta get the alignment done. The cambers are off. Cambers off on those wheels. But that'll get done tomorrow with the alignment, so I'm not too worried about it. Right now, I'm gonna start it up, and I'm just gonna do some spot checks for leaks, do a test drive around the block, and finish me up.